Let's get you up to speed on the severe weather potential for the rest of this Friday afternoon and evening. The Storm Prediction Center has put out a slight risk of severe storms in the yellow shading from, we have southeast Texas here under a slight risk for this afternoon. And we'll really be watching this area from western Texas through the Panhandle up through western Nebraska, the western half of Kansas, much of Nebraska, and southern half of South Dakota. Under that slight risk for today, and this also extends even into parts of Wyoming and northeast Colorado as well. We also have an enhanced risk in that brown shading, or orangish kind of shading here. I'm colorblind, okay? And the enhanced threat here from western Nebraska and southwest portions of South Dakota. This is where the greatest dynamics for severe storms will be setting up this afternoon and this evening. Let's look at the tornado threat for today. The greatest tornado threat will be setting up right in that area across western Nebraska. A 5% threat here is what they put out in that red, and a 2% in the green right here centered over western Nebraska, southern portions of South Dakota, eastern parts of Wyoming, and far northeast portions of Colorado this afternoon and this evening. Damage and wind potential, certainly if areas under that slight risk, the main threats will be damaging winds and hail, because we're going to have that greatest tornado threat in that enhanced area that we're watching across western Nebraska. And if you're under that yellow shading of that slight risk, I should say, for severe storms, especially if you live in Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas, really your main threats today will be damaging winds and hail. You can see the damage and wind potential here from the Storm Prediction Center, a 15% risk in that yellow, and we're all of course watching this area across western Nebraska where even greater chances are for some damaging winds. And here's the hail potential for today. Essentially the same probabilities as the winds. We have also the hail going to be another big story as far as the severe weather modes for this afternoon and this evening. Now, one of the many things we watch is the convective available potential energy. Obviously, we need that energy for these storms to be able to grow. You can see we're going to have plenty of energy available for these storms to tap into this afternoon and this evening. And notice the enhanced area right here in the convective available energy right through here. We're going to have a dry line setting up right in here. The dry line will be more pronounced across Kansas, right down through Oklahoma and Texas, and what we're watching is there right through here for storms to develop with interaction with that dry line this afternoon and this evening. So certainly need to keep an eye on that. And obviously, western Nebraska, that's where the greatest dynamics will be setting up for severe storms today. And looking at the dew points, this will show us where that dry line is really setting up. Because a dry line, on the eastern side of a dry line, you have very warm, moist air. On the western side, it's going to be very hot and dry air, and that dry line is right there where you have that sharp gradient between really high, uncomfortable dew points and very, very, very dry air. And you'll see as we head into the afternoon where this sets up. Watch right through here where we have a very sharp gradient in those dew points from 65 to 70 degree yucky dew points, very soupy air. And obviously, you need moisture for these storms, and then you got very dry air on the western side of that dry line, very, very dry air, in fact, and you get that interaction along that dry line. It's always an important focal point for severe storms across the central and southern plains. And if you live in that area, you're very aware of that. Obviously, the dry line is certainly plays certainly a role in that severe weather that you see, and that's certainly something we'll be watching this afternoon and this evening. Dry line most pronounced from Kansas right down through western Nebraska, or western Oklahoma, and Panhandle of Texas here. So again, please be on high alert this afternoon and this evening. And we'll also look at the upper level winds. Nothing off the charts, I guess you could say, for this afternoon. Tomorrow is when the upper level winds will be even greater, but certainly we do have winds. This is looking at 1 mile above the surface at the 850 millibar level, and you can see we do have some wind to work with for these storms to bring down here. Potentially, so we'll be watching for that damaging wind potential from that slight risk area from Nebraska down through Kansas and western Oklahoma and Texas for this afternoon and this evening. And of course, I already mentioned a hail threat for today as well. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we're going to see even greater uplevel winds. This is heading into tonight. We're going to really see the wind speeds above our heads really increasing. And heading into the day on Saturday, this is where we're going to see even greater wind speeds aloft. And as this area of low pressure begins to push eastward a little bit, we're going to see this cold front and associated dry line pushing eastward Tomorrow is shaping up to be a big day right across the center part of the country. Let's look at the risk for Saturday. We have a enhanced threat in that shading here across from southern Nebraska right through central Kansas. Wichita, Kansas, you're really going to be right in that bullseye tomorrow. Wichita, Kansas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and down through northern Texas. This is the area that's really going to be under that main zone for severe storms tomorrow with the greatest potential for, including some tornadoes as well, certainly. This is something we'll have to watch very closely. The slight risk goes all the way up almost to the Canadian border here tomorrow. So right here from north to south, large area under that threat for severe storms tomorrow. And we're going to have even better dynamics setting up for tomorrow. Obviously, we'll look at the convective available potential energy. And certainly, as we head into the day tomorrow, you can see plenty of energy available for these storms to tap into. I already showed you the upper level winds that are going to really begin to increase tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. That will certainly bring the potential for some damaging winds with these storms as well. So tomorrow is shaping up to be a pretty big severe weather day across the plains. A lot of storm chasers will be out there chasing these storms. Now, as we head into Sunday, this whole threat begins to shift east because the storm system will begin to march eastward. We're going to begin to see that cold front associated with it pushing eastward as well. And you can see by Sunday the severe weather threat is not as high, but certainly we got to watch western, I should say much of Illinois right through Wisconsin and eastern parts of Minnesota and Iowa. This will be the area we need to watch for Sunday for severe storms. Main threats here will be more of that damaging wind threat and large hail. We're going to have very strong winds aloft to work with on Sunday as this low pressure begins to push eastward. Obviously, areas near the low pressure will have those greater wind speeds aloft, and you can see this here on the 850 millibar winds on Sunday. You see a good deal of winds to tap into right in this area here, and this will be the area we got to watch where the dynamics will be setting up for some severe storms on Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. You can see the progression of this system here on the Weather Prediction Center from NOAA, the short-range forecast here. This afternoon, you can see that dry line shown right through here. That's where we're going to watch for those storms to develop this afternoon and this evening. And obviously, the greatest potential for storms, like I already mentioned, will be right here in this what we call a frontal triple point across western parts of Nebraska this afternoon and this evening. And now as we head into Saturday, you can begin to see this cold front beginning to push eastward. Storms will really blossom tomorrow afternoon from Texas all the way up to the Dakotas and Minnesota, right up near to the Canadian border. The central zone right through here will be the corridor to watch for severe weather on Saturday. And heading into Sunday, the system begins to push eastward. You can see the cold front now beginning to advance eastward. The low pressure is pushing eastward here and strengthening as it moves into parts of South Dakota and eventually heading into Minnesota. We're going to have plenty of winds aloft to work with on Sunday, and areas right through here. This is actually the map by 8 or 7 o'clock Central Time Sunday, so this doesn't go fully into by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. But you can see by Sunday morning the low pressure is shifting eastward. The cold front is, associated with it is pushing eastward as well. So we'll be watching the area from western, I should say much of Illinois, Wisconsin, and parts of Iowa and Missouri potentially on Sunday where that severe weather could set up. So again, that's just a quick update on the severe weather potential setting up over the next few days. Again, a very, very busy next couple of days setting up. Here's, once again, the outlook for the day and the outlook for tomorrow. 2 big severe weather days shaping up. So continue to make sure you have a way to receive warnings. Thanks for watching.